Sola was born in the small village of Oke-Odo. From the very beginning, people noticed that he was different. Other boys woke up early to go to school or followed their fathers to the farm, but Sola preferred to wander around aimlessly, looking for mischief. His mother would sometimes cry, begging him to behave like other children. "Sola, my son, please don't bring shame to this family," she would plead. But Sola never listened. He was stubborn, hot-tempered, and disrespectful. Whenever the old men of the village sat under the big mango tree to give him advice, he would stand there with pride in his eyes. "Sola, change your ways before it is too late," they would warn. But he would burst into laughter, mocking them. "Leave me alone. I will live my life the way you want." The elders would shake their heads sadly, saying, "This boy will bring sorrow one day." As he grew older, his bad behavior became worse. Very soon, he turned into a terror in the whole village. He stole cassava, yam, and maize from people's farms. He would uproot people's sweet potatoes at night and roast them by the riverside with his friends. He sneaked into compounds like a thief in the dark. Chickens, goats, and even dried fish hanging in kitchens disappeared any time Sola passed by. If anyone challenged him, he would insult them boldly. Not even the oldest men in the village were free from his sharp tongue. One evening, when Baba Ajani, the oldest man in the village, tried to scold him, Sola shouted, "Old man, go and sleep. Eu will soon die. Stop disturbing me." The villagers were shocked. From that day, parents began to warn their children, "Don't move with Sola. He is bad luck. His end will not be good." But Sola did not care. He laughed at them all. To him, life was just about enjoyment, drinking local gin, smoking weed, and moving from one trouble to another. Whenever people looked at him, they shook their heads in pity. Some even whispered, "This boy has a dark spirit following." But Sola, in his pride, thought he was the wisest person in the village. He believed nobody could catch him, nobody could harm him, and nobody could stop him. He felt untouchable. Little did he know that his stubborn ways were leading him slowly into a trap that would one day change his life forever. One hot afternoon, Sola was passing by the village shrine. The shrine was not an ordinary place. It was a sacred ground where the villagers believed the spirits of their ancestors and the gods themselves lived. No one dared to play or even talk loudly around it. People removed their shoes when passing by. Some even crossed to the other side of the road out of respect. But Sola, he was different. His heart was full of pride. He feared no man, and he thought he feared no spirit. As he walked past, his eyes caught something strange. Just beside the shrine pot, where kola nuts and palm oil were usually kept for sacrifice, he saw a small bundle of money. His eyes widened. He stopped. He looked around carefully. The sun was high, the air was silent, and not a single soul was near. The village road was empty. His heart started beating fast. "This must be sacrifice money," he thought. "But why should I leave it here? Yafu, money is money." For a moment, a tiny voice in his heart told him to walk away. He even took one step back. But the stubborn pride inside him grew stronger. "I beg, let me get it. What will these so-called gods do? Can they chase me?" "Rubbish," he hissed. Without thinking twice, he stretched his hand, snatched the money, and quickly hid it inside his shirt. Then, like a thief, he ran down the road without looking back. That night, he did not hide his excitement. He went straight to the palm wine joint, his favorite place. "Bring the biggest calabash of wine," he shouted at the tapper. "Tonight, nobody will drink small. I will sponsor everybody." His friends gathered around him, clapping and hailing him. He bought meat, roasted plantain, and more wine than he could finish. He smoked heavily until his eyes turned red. "Money is sweet," he screamed, laughing like a madman. "Who says bad life does not pay? Look at me, Sola de boss." His friends cheered, but the villagers who sat quietly in the corner shook their heads. They whispered among themselves. "Sola has touched what he should not touch," one old man muttered. "The shrine will not forgive him," another added. Some even refused to drink the wine he bought, saying, "It is better to be thirsty than to drink from a cursed hand." But Sola did not care. He danced all through the night, mocking anyone who tried to warn him. "Leave me alone. I am enjoying my life, he boasted. The gods are nothing. I am wiser than them. Little did he know that his laughter that night was the beginning of a sorrow he could never escape. Months later, something strange began to happen. One morning, Sola woke up and noticed his right leg was swollen. At first, he thought it was just a small boil or maybe an insect bite. He laughed it off. This one is nothing. In 2 days it will go, he told himself. But 2 days passed, then a week, yet the swelling refused to go down. Instead, it became bigger and harder. He tried tying herbs around it. He rubbed palm oil. He even used hot water with salt, but nothing worked. The swelling grew worse. Soon, his 2 legs became swollen, heavy like drums. They shone as if they were filled with water. Each step became painful. He could no longer walk properly. Instead, he dragged himself on the ground like a broken man. His friends, the same boys who used to hail him and drink his free wine, began to avoid him. If we follow him, we too may get cursed, they whispered. One by one, they abandoned him. Now Sola sat alone under trees where he once laughed and smoked. His voice, once loud and boastful, became weak. When people asked, "Sola, what happened to your legs?" he forced a smile. "It will soon heal. Don't worry. I am strong." But deep inside, fear was growing in his heart. Every night, when he tried to sleep, he felt as if something was pressing him down. Sometimes, he dreamt of the shrine. In the dream, he saw a big shadow pointing at him and laughing. He would wake up sweating, his body shaking. The villagers began to whisper more openly. "It is the shrine. The gods are punishing him," they said. "Yes, he stole their money. This is the result." Some even refused to pass near his hut, saying his curse might spread like a disease. His mother wept day and night. She ran from one herbalist to another, carrying her wrapper loosely tied, begging for help. She sold her few goats to buy medicine, but nothing changed. The swelling only grew worse. The once strong and fearless Sola was now a shadow of himself. His eyes sank deep, his body became weak, and his laughter disappeared. Yet, in his stubborn pride, he still refused to confess. "I will not beg anybody. I will not retar-me anything. This sickness will go," he told himself. But in his heart, he knew the gods were watching him, and their punishment was only beginning. After many months of suffering, Sola could no longer deny it. His body was failing him. His legs were swollen like logs of wood, his face was lean, and his voice had lost its strength. The same Sola who once walked proudly through the village now had to be carried from place to place like a helpless child. At last, shame pushed him to do what he had never done before. He began to seek forgiveness. He called the farmer whose yams he had stolen. With tears in his eyes, he said, "Please, forgive me. I was wrong." The farmer looked at him for a long time. His eyes were filled with pity. "I forgive you," he said softly. "But Sola, you have brought this upon yourself." Then he sent for the woman whose chickens had disappeared many nights. When she saw Sola's swollen body, she gasped. But Sola bent his head like a broken man. "Forgive me," he begged. "I took your chickens. I was foolish." The woman shook her head. "I forgive you, but your hands are stained." "Can forgiveness erase the anger of the gods?" she asked, her voice heavy with sorrow. Sola wept. He was carried from one elder to another. To those he had insulted, he knelt weakly, his voice trembling. "Baba, Mama, I am sorry. I was arrogant. I did not respect you. Please find a place in your heart to forgive me." Some forgave him with tears in their eyes, remembering the little boy he once was before pride ruined him. Others looked at him with bitterness and shook their heads. "You laughed at us when we warned you," one elder said. "Now look at yourself. Did we not say this day would come?" Finally, with no strength left, Sola was carried to the dreaded shrine, the very place where his downfall began. The villagers gathered in silence. Even the wind seemed to pause. Sola, with tears streaming down his face, cried out with a broken voice, "Please forgive me. I was foolish. I did not know what I was doing. Take this curse away from me. Spare my life." His cries echoed through the air, and some villagers wiped their eyes. For the first time, Sola sounded truly human. For the first time, he sounded humble. The shrine priest, an old man with white chalk marks on his body, looked at him with sadness. He shook his head slowly and sighed deeply. "Sola," he said, his voice calm but heavy, "the gods are not blind. You mocked them. You touched what was meant for them. You wasted their sacrifice on wine and smoke. What is done cannot be undone. The curse has already entered your blood. It is too late." A deep silence fell on the shrine. Only Sola's sobbing could be heard. Tears rolled down his cheeks like rivers. His chest shook as he wept bitterly. For the first time in his life, he felt true regret. For the first time, he understood the pain he had caused others. But it was too late. The villagers shook their heads and whispered among themselves. Some pitied him, others believed he deserved it. As the sun went down that evening, Sola lay weak on the ground of the shrine, staring into the sky. His heart was filled with sorrow, but his body was filled with pain. And in the shadows of the shrine, it seemed as if unseen eyes were watching him. Sola's sickness grew worse with each passing day. His legs became so heavy that he could not move them at all. They looked like two dead logs tied to his body. His sores opened wider, and thick pus came out. Flies gathered around him in swarms, buzzing day and night. His body gave off a bad smell that spread through the hut. Nobody wanted to stay near him anymore. Even little children who used to laugh when they saw him now ran away in fear. Some villagers covered their noses whenever they passed by his mother's compound. They whispered, "This is not ordinary sickness. This is the anger of the gods." His poor mother wept every night. She would sit by his side, fanning him gently, tears rolling down her cheeks. "My son," she cried, "why didn't you change when people warned you? Why did you mock the elders? Oh, Sola, you have destroyed yourself." Sola's eyes were always filled with tears. He remembered the days he laughed at the elders under the mango tree, the nights he sneaked into people's farms, the goats and chickens he carried away. He remembered how he mocked the shrine and shouted that the gods were nothing. Now he was broken, alone, helpless. The boys who once called him boss no longer came near. The friends who used to drink palm wine with him at night had all disappeared. Even his relatives stayed far away, saying, "We don't want this curse to follow us." His only companion was pain. Every movement he tried to make was agony. Every breath reminded him of how useless his body had become. Each sore on his skin was like fire. Every pain he felt reminded him of the evil life he lived. His sins became like shadows haunting him. In the middle of the night, he often cried out, "Why didn't I listen? Why didn't I fear God?" For 3 long years, Sola suffered like that. 3 years of shame. 3 years of endless pain. 3 years of watching life pass by while he remained on the ground like a dead man who had not been buried. During those years, he saw how the world moved on without him. The same boys who once followed him into mischief grew up, married, and became responsible men. Farmers planted and harvested their crops. Children who once feared him went to school and laughed happily. The village festivals came and went, but Sola remained inside his mother's hut, smelling of sickness and regret. His heart was heavy, his body weak, and his soul empty. And deep inside, he knew the truth. This suffering was not ordinary. It was the hand of the gods, and there was no escape. One cold morning, before the sun had fully risen, the villagers woke up to the sound of bitter wailing coming from Sola's compound. His mother's cries pierced through the quiet air. People rushed out of their huts, looking at one another with fear in their eyes. "It has happened," an old woman whispered. When they gathered inside the small compound, they saw the sight that made their hearts heavy. Sola had breathed his last. His swollen legs lay stiff and lifeless. His body, thin and weak, looked like an empty shell. His eyes were wide open, staring into nothingness, but there was no life inside them. The same mouth that once mocked the elders and boasted in arrogance was now silent forever. The whole village gathered. Some shook their heads in pity, remembering how his mother begged him to change. Others only muttered under their breath. "This is a lesson for all," one man said. "Evil may look sweet at first, but in the end, it brings pain." There was no celebration, no farewell songs, no dancing. Unlike other burials in the village, where drums were beaten and people gathered to eat, Sola's burial was filled only with silence. They carried his body to the very edge of the village, far from the homes of others. That was where people who died in shame were buried. The ground was cold and dry as they dug his grave. No praise was given. Only his mother's wailing filled the air. She threw herself on the ground, crying, "My son, my only son, why didn't you listen? Why didn't you change?" The villagers covered the grave with sand quickly. They did not want to stay too long. Some said quietly, "The anger of the gods is still around. Let us go before it spreads." Children were told his story over and over again. Fathers pointed to the lonely grave at the edge of the bush and said, "If you live like Sola, you will end like Sola." Mothers warned their sons, "Respect your elders. Fear the gods. Do not follow the path of destruction." And slowly, Sola's name became a proverb in the village. But deep inside, his mother carried the greatest sorrow of all. She would sit outside her hut, staring at the grave from afar, whispering, "If only he had listened, if only." Thanks guys for watching this video. Please subscribe to watch more. Like, share and drop your comment below.